Turbo and 2K show.
What's up, 2K crew? We are live from the 543 studio, courtesy of the Marcellus News. Yes, it is that time of the week again, ladies and gentlemen. I've got a pretty good show, and I do want to give, before we jump into this, a big shout out to the 2Ks and Mrs. 2Ks and the little 2Ks. They have the funk running through the house. So T's and P's to you guys. Hopefully everyone is on the mend. The worst is behind them. And yeah, it seems like everyone's sick nowadays. But yeah, with that aside, welcome, hello and welcome. I mentioned the Marcellus News. They are our sponsor for this studio. So if you guys and gals, especially if you're local here in Marcellus, like I don't know why, if you're not subscribed to the Marcellus News, why you're not. But go to marcellusnews.com. You can get a virtual subscription for I think $7. What's $7 these days? But go ahead, jump on, and I guarantee if you are local, your kid is going to be in the Marcellus News at least once a year. Pretty much, you can almost lock that up, guarantee it, throw away the key. But for those of you there are a handful of you watching live, I do want to say thank you, and make sure you are subscribed. Click that bell so you get notified every time we go live. And I did kind of start this week about 10 minutes early because we weren't waiting on 2Ks. Because if you guys don't know, a little behind the scenes here, I show up at about quarter after 7 to get all of this kind of set up, get everything, which I will admit my camera placement the last couple of weeks has been not stellar. We were definitely not centered, but it is what it is. It is what it is. And 2K strolls in about 2 minutes to 8. I start the countdown timer at 8 o'clock. We go live at 8 o'clock, but I was like, hey, you know what? We're not waiting on him this week. Let's go live. Let's jump into it. Let's get going, because there's a lot of cool stuff, a lot of stuff that irritates me, and there's a story I want to talk about that I don't think is getting enough hype, if that makes sense. But we're going to talk some baseball. I mean, obviously with the we just have breaking news. We have breaking news. So we'll definitely get to that. But we're going to talk MLB hot stove. We're going to touch on the NFL and do a little wrap up here because, as you can see, for those of you that are on YouTube, and if you are listening on the podcast, I do want to thank you as well. But yes, hit a like, subscribe, drop us a comment, ladies and gentlemen. I will feature you on the show like this, and let's get a conversation going. And I will feature some tweets on here as we have been here in the past. But yeah, let's sit back, have fun, and let's get it going. Let's kick off this MLB hot stove. Man, things are getting intense, like sex while camping, intense. And it all starts off this week. Well, let's talk about the breaking news. MLB free agent alert. Two-time All-Star left-handed pitcher Carlos Rodon and the Yankees are in agreement on a 6-year, $162 million contract. That is huge. That is a guy that, with the White Sox early on in his career, had a little bit of trouble getting started, had a little bit putting it all together, finally does on his walk year, and the White Sox just let him go. He goes, I believe the Giants, I believe with the Giants, and now he signed a nice little short-term deal there, and it looks like he has landed with the Yankees, bolstering that starting pitching. Which, if you were listening to the show last week, that was one of the things 2Ks and I kind of touched on when it did come to the Yankees. Is yes, they did sign Aaron Judge, but it's basically the same team as it was last year. The same team that got swept by the White Sox or the Astros, excuse me. So did they make a whole lot of changes? No. Did they lock up their guy? Yeah. And this is point proven that the Yankees are kind of all in. They're kind of filling some of those holes, but it does make for an angry Red Sox fan, that's for sure. But let's jump into some of these tweets. Let's start off with a funny one here real quick. This is from Super 70 Sports. And if you guys do not follow Super 70 Sports on Twitter, it is absolutely amazing. Whoever runs this account is absolutely awesome. It's a picture of the claymation Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Santa, and it says, Rudolph, I need you to guide my sleigh tonight. Rudolph says, yeah, well, Rudolph's got a long memory. Let me check my bag of fucks. Oh, that's right, it's empty. Just a little humor in there. But let's jump into the biggest news of the week. Carlos Correa is off the market. MLB tweets, Bay Area blockbuster. Carlos Correa Giants reportedly agreed to a 13-year deal. 13-year deal. And I was going to look this up prior to this, but let's do it live. See, he's 28 years old. 28 years old. So this will put him into year 41. 41. And signs a giant contract. Let me see here. 13 years, $350 million. That is quite a chunk of change. You know, we touched on Xander Bogaerts and how his contract ended up, how he ended up where he is. And yeah, there has been over $3 billion. I'll say that again, billion with a B. $1 billion paid out to free agents just this year so far. Now, granted, most of the big names have been signed. Most of the big names have been locked up for 10, 11, 12, 13 years, it seems like. Kind of the big one that's still out there is Dansby Swanson. And there's, we'll kind of get into that here as we move along. But like the thumbnail said, are these contracts getting out of hand? And 2Ks and I kind of touched on it a little bit last week when one of the 2K crew members, which if you're not a member of the Facebook group, facebook.com/group/2K crew, get in there and I answer the questions and I will admit you into the group. And it is a lot of fun. There's a lot of interaction. And a lot of people just patrolling and trolling all of the hot stove stuff. So I usually get updates from Facebook saying there are posts in the 2K crew group before even ESPN tweets it out, or at least sends an alert through their app. So someone had mentioned that just the price tag of these free agents is driving up the cost to where a family of four can't really go see a ball game. And this has been an ongoing, I guess you could say, an ongoing argument, an ongoing just concern for baseball fans, and especially if you do have a family. And I totally agree. I can 125% see where you're coming from. And it's not just this year, it's been years past, and it's been all over the place. You know, we kind of touched on it last week when we mentioned when Bryce Harper signed his deal and Manny Machado signed their deal. You know, we expected it to kind of be more like a Carlos Correa type deal, more like Xander Bogaerts type deal, and they really wasn't, just because of the way the market was. And moving forward, you can kind of see how healthy the baseball market is, how healthy the owners are. People are going back to the parks post-pandemic, and it's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to watch, and we're seeing these big contracts to these young guys. I guess you can't really say young guys, because Correa's not that young, Bogaerts isn't that young. Are they still in their prime? 100%. 100%. They're in their late 20s, and it seems odd to me that we're talking about someone being old who's in their late 20s. But when you kind of have a shelf life in your sport, then yes, by all means, go out, get paid, because like I mentioned last week, you are the 1% of the 1% that on earth that can actually do this and do it to the level that you do. So get your bag, get paid. I have no issues with that, but there are some folks that will. Just kind of keep that in mind. But Carlos Correa gets paid. And let's see what else we got here. Tigers kind of make I guess you could call this a splash. Mark Friesand tweets, Michael Lorenzen has agreed to a 1-year, $8.5 million deal with the Tigers. Per source, deal includes $1.5 million in performance bonuses. I will be the first one to admit, 2K Crew, I had to Google who the hell this was. And I still really don't know who it is. I know he's a starting pitcher. Did the Tigers need some starting pitching? Yeah. And I kind of disagree with 2K's where he's saying this is not the time to bring in high dollar free agents. I kind of disagree with that just because of the amount of young players on the team that could benefit from the experience, just the clubhouse mentality of these vets. And I think it will be easier moving forward once Miggy's contract is off the books, and rightfully so. I mean, they're still paying some outlandish contracts from the last regime. I'm sure when Dombrowski, there was just an open checkbook, and I think the Red Sox felt that too. And speaking of the Red Sox, today there was some breaking news. DPW at Boston PL Swin tweets breaking: designated hitter Peter Griffin and the Boston Red Sox in agreement on 10-year, $300 million contract per source. And yes, we all know that isn't just because the Red Sox would never sign anyone for 10 years, $300 million. I think that's already been, it's kind of been out there. Mookie Betts gets traded, requests a trade. We give up on Xander, and kind of the real kick in the teeth when it does come to that Mookie Betts trade is the key piece of that trade wasn't Alex Verdugo. Even though he was the most MLB ready, it was Jeter Downs. And Jeter Downs today got designated for assignment, which was extremely sad to see, and just kind of sucks. Because he was, like I said, he was the turning point for that trade. And is the book still out on Verdugo? Absolutely. I'm a huge Verdugo fan. And at some points last year was actually outperforming Mookie Betts. And if you go back to the year previous, was right on par with him. And the community loves him. The team loves him, which everybody loved Mookie because just of his personality. I don't know how you couldn't like him. But yeah, it was just kind of a weird situation. And yeah, we definitely know they would not overpay for Peter Griffin. That is for sure. But while we're talking about the hot stove, and while we're talking about baseball, and that's kind of just to give you my 2 cents on are the contracts outrageous? I'm not so much worried about the dollar amount. I'm worried about the longevity of the contracts. In my opinion, was Xander Bogaerts worth the price that they paid? Yes. Would I have signed him for that long? No. And we've talked about it at great lengths on the show. It's like, if the team they sign with, if they win one World Series, that pays for that whole contract. We've talked about that with the Pujols contract. We talked about that with the Miggy contract. It seems like we talk about that every time we get a new highest paid player in baseball. And we've talked about it with Mike Trout, but we're that Angels team. I don't know. I really don't know. I wish I could put my finger on what the hell is actually going on within that organization, because they have two of the best players in the game on the same team, two generational talents on the same team, yet can't even sniff the fucking playoffs. Can't even sniff the playoffs. So I am extremely, extremely baffled, and as well as I'm sure every single baseball fan, because we want to see Mike Trout in the playoffs. We want to see more of Mike Trout. We want to see as much Mike Trout as we can, and we're not getting it. And it's not because of anything that he's done. It's not anything that Shohei's done. It's just the organization and the players that they bring around him. It just baffles my mind. But we've touched on we went into great lengths last week on the Aaron Judge contract. But there was something that I was going to bring up last week, but yet didn't make a slide. So I definitely wanted to touch on it this week, and I really wish 2Ks was here so we could kind of dive into it. But let me see here. Let's do a screen show. Let me show the tweet first, so I can kind of give you a little preface. This is from Bradford Williams Davis, parody, but it is a verified account. I'm not so sure how valid blue check marks are on Twitter these days, but it's talking about these Goldilocks baseballs and what he's referring to, or what this is referring to, and the article that I'm going to talk about here. And I'm going to bring it up on my phone so I can see it a little bit better. Is we all remember in the Goldilocks story that you don't sleep in the bed that's too hard, you don't sleep in the bed that's too soft, you sleep in the bed that's just right. And same with the porridge and everything like that. Well, this is kind of what they're referring to. They're talking about the baseballs, and let me see here. I know it's in here. I definitely know it's in here because I sent it to myself. There it is. It says in the little bar graph down here, which I apologize, I had to shrink the picture to get it in the screen here. And it says, let's talk about the top of the tweet first. It says, but what's wilder, in my opinion, is where we found Goldilocks. Last year, we had no discernible pattern. With our samples this year, most Goldilocks balls showed up in the 2022 postseason or regular season Yankees games. Almost every other baseball and every other location was dead. And now the graph down here, it says where we found the Goldilocks balls. While Willis's research found dead balls at parks around the country, the Goldilocks balls, a more batter-friendly weight profile, only turned up at Yankee games and marquee events like the postseason or games using balls with commemorative stamps. Now, let's take a trip back in time here. Okay, why would it be so important to have these in the balls were weighted to be prime weight to travel the farthest when struck at a normal rate? That's what they're referring to as the Goldilocks balls. And as you can see, the line with the this graph is broken down on the far left, June 2022, then July, August, September, October. And as you can see, the Yankees are designated in blue. The commemorative balls are in orange. The yellow is postseason. And the green is All-Star Weekend, which you can only have All-Star Weekend one time a year, which is why you see him in this July column here, the second from the left. But as you can see, once the home run chase started heating up over there in New York with Mr. Judge, the balls seem to be, there's more Goldilocks balls flying than out of any other sample size that they found. So I did find I did find an article that I want to share with you guys and gals. So let's share my screen here. Let's make it big. Let's go to the top. And this is from si.com. I did share the link to this article in the comments if you guys want to follow along with me or read it at your own leisure. But it says Major League Baseball still has a baseball problem, one that relates to the Yankees and a milestone chase. According to insider Bradford William Davis, Dr. Meredith Willis analyzed 204 game-used balls from the 2022 season. The Society for American Baseball Research awarded winning astrophysicist research suggested that the league used 3 different balls throughout the year. This report follows a 2021 insider story that revealed the league had 2 different balls in circulation. One ball had a center weight approximately 2.5 grams heavier than the other. By collecting, deconstructing, weighing, and analyzing game balls from 22 parks, Willis's new research found lighter, quote-unquote dead balls, heavier, quote-unquote juice balls, and so-called Goldilocks balls, balls that were balls whose weight fell right in the middle of the spectrum, were used in 2022. The Goldilocks balls were, on average, about 1.5 grams lighter than the juice balls and 1 gram heavier than the dead balls. Heavier balls should travel farther when met with equal force, and MLB previously said it would only use the dead, quote-unquote dead balls in 2022. Major League Baseball and Rawlings, who manufacture the balls, disputed Insider's latest report and Willis's findings. The insider noted that all the balls obtained fell within the specifications detailed in MLB's rulebook, and balls are handmade, so some variation is expected. But Insider went on to explain that most of the quote-unquote Goldilocks balls, more batter-friendly than the dead balls, were found at all 3 types of games and events: postseason and World Series games, the All-Star Game and Home Run Derby, regular season games that used balls with special commemorative stamps on the outer leather, such as Rangers' 50th anniversary ball. However, there was an exception. The only Goldilocks balls Insider obtained from regular season that did not have a commemorative stamp came from Yankee games. 11 such balls were obtained. As Yankee and baseball fans may recall, Aaron Judge broke the franchise and single-season record, or home run record this past season, when he hit 52 dingers. The feat made Judge the first player without credible performance-enhancing drug connections to surpass Roger Maris's previous AL record of 61. It also helped Judge win an MVP award and position him for a record-breaking contract in free agency. Of course, Judge and the Yankees don't determine what balls make their way onto the field. As for MLB, Insider said that it can't represent that any particular ball was sent for any particular game to any particular game. Any particular reason to any particular game. The story added that we don't know whether Judge hit a Goldilocks ball on his way towards breaking the record. However, MLB could figure out which balls were used in which games if it wanted to, per Insider. Based on MLB and Commissioner Rob Manfred's dismissive comments and statements to Insider's story, such info won't be publicly disclosed. Big shocker there. Big shocker there. That will leave some who read the story to question what impact the varying baseballs had on Judge's season, which could thus continue debates about baseball's record books, which already reached exhaustive levels as Judge marched towards 62. Players and baseball fans across the country, meanwhile, will continue to wonder whether the game's most important piece of equipment will find some semblance of consistency in the near future. And yeah, that was a huge thing, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, if you remember back, hell, it was post-steroid era. I mean, there was a ton of, once the league cracked down on PEDs and steroids and all that good stuff, obviously the power numbers went down. So baseball decided, well, we need to, chicks dig the long ball. So we need to enhance the game somehow without enhancing our players, or allowing our players to be enhanced is probably a better way of saying it. And what better way than to juice the baseballs? And I mean, we saw balls being hit out of the park at an astronomical rate. However, this was the first time that someone actually reached a milestone that was actually tangible. And if we look at this graph, and I like I said, I do apologize for the teeny tininess of it. Let me see if I can. Let's do this. See if no, it's not gonna let me. All right, but if you see here, everyone was talking about the lack of offense when this season started. And now, and as the season progresses, all of a sudden, the more of these Goldilocks balls they find, the more production increases. And not to say that Judge didn't start off the season hot. I'm not saying that. but it seemed it's harder to hit home runs in October than it is August, just because the weather's getting colder, the air's getting thicker. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that the toll of 162 is becoming real on your body, and it just so happens that he had just enough in the tank to go ahead and reach that milestone. So I'm curious to see why this story is just being kind of, I don't know, left by the wayside, I guess you could say. And the only reason I saw it was because this was on Twitter. Now, granted, I know you can't believe everything you read on the internet, but with something like this that's gotten this much traction, I mean, it just seems to me like it's getting swept under the rug. And I'm not pointing any fingers. I'm not saying a judge didn't earn this milestone, the right way. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is there should be some more coverage on it. There should be some more investigating, which I'm sure the insiders is doing their due diligence to figure out what the hell is going on here. But the bad part is that the more they do this, the more pushback they're going to get from MLB, the more pushback they're going to get from the MLBPA, the more pushback they're going to get from everywhere. So the folks actually working on this story, if there's anything I can do to help, I would love to. I doubt that I'd be any help at all, but I will volunteer my services to Dr. Willis and anyone else that's out there that's listening, because not so I can point fingers, not so I can say that this record is not valid. This record is not valid because at the end of the day, it wasn't Aaron Judge's fault. He didn't knowingly hit juice or Goldilocks baseballs, because you don't want to call them juice because they're not heavy enough to be juice balls. So I would just like to know the truth, because I have a feeling the reason we saw the numbers ramp up like that on that graph is it became more and more apparent that Judge could reach this milestone. Judge could do this. So why not give him a little help? Why not give him a little help? And not only the game of baseball is going to benefit from it because of all of the exposure, all of the pomp and circumstance, all of the Judge watch. We got to watch every single at bat that he has, and kind of replicate what happened in '98 without the gigantic biceps and bulging veins and PED use and God knows what else was going on there. Let's just juice the baseball a little bit, or Goldilocks the baseball, I guess I should say. And I haven't heard this story on ESPN. I haven't heard this story from any other podcast. I find it rather odd that this is flying under the radar. And maybe it's because most baseball fans don't give a shit. I guarantee Yankee fans don't give a shit. Well, maybe the purists do that still believe that Roger Maris is the 61 will live in infamy because he did it A, in fewer games, and B, probably as natural as you ever will, drinking beer and eating hot dogs and shit like that. And I guarantee those are the only Yankee fans and baseball fans that probably give a shit, to be honest with you. I just think it's a load of shit. Like, what are we even doing here? What are we even doing? How did this even get out? And I have a feeling it's directly correlated to the juice balls a couple years ago, and them saying that coming out this year that they're not using juice balls, they're using dead balls to kind of help even the playing field, because they took away the spider tech for the pitchers, so then you saw all the pitchers' ERAs go up. So kind of some give and take, I guess. I don't know, but can't we just agree on one ball, one weight? It makes so much sense. And yeah, let's just cut the shit and play ball. But yeah, I just thought I would really wanted to address that, because no one really hasn't. And let me check that photo out here again. Of course, there it is. And the Bradford William Davis, his initial tweet had 517 likes, 48 retweets, and 3 comments. One of the comments being himself. So even then, this really didn't have a whole lot of legs. Do I think it will? Yeah, I do. Once everything kind of settles, even though everything is pretty much settled. I mean, Judge got what he wanted. I really don't think he wanted the single season record. He wanted a big fat sack, and he got that, and the record. So it's kind of twofold, and an MVP. And he was the talk of baseball for the whole year. So the only downside of that is, do you know how much pressure Aaron Judge is going to be under for the next 10 years? How much pressure he's going to be under to stay healthy? How much pressure he's going to have to perform? How much pressure he's going to have to hit 300? How much pressure he's going to have to see if he can top 62? To see if he can break his own record? And I think the things that just all of the elements came together in a perfect storm for him this year. Because he was healthy for the most part this year. He didn't miss a long string of games like he had since his rookie year. And earning the MVP pretty much put the Yankees into the postseason. Without Judge putting up these outlandish numbers, the Yankees do not make the postseason, even though they started out on fire. And injuries and everything else, starting rotation dwindled. The back end of their bullpen, which was their strength for so many years, was not a strength anymore, but yet a liability. And then you add just underperforming. Anthony Rizzo underperformed. Yeah, he hit 35 or so bombs, but batted .217 or something like that. He got a big bag this year from the Yankees. It just seemed like it was a very paper mache version of the Yankees. And when it came to the playoffs, the Astros beat the hell out of that piñata. Beat the hell out of it. And like 2Ks and I talked about last week, it's sad to see that the Red Sox are standing pat with what they have, because they are the worst team in that division. It pains me to say that. The Yankees probably will win the division again this coming year. But then again, the Blue Jays were right behind them. If the Yankees hadn't gotten off to such a hot start, and the Blue Jays gotten off to such a shit start where they ended up firing their manager after 2 months, maybe the Blue Jays are going to win that division. But the most improved team in baseball was the Orioles. So now you're going to get a whole season of these cats. Kind of excited to see what they do. And it pains me to say that the team that I root for the most, I really have the least interest in the AL East. But at least I know they did make a free agent signing in Peter Griffin, designated hitter, 10-year, $300 million contract. So yeah, add to that, and then the designating for assignment, Jeter Downs today. Not a happy Red Sox fan, and now Carlos Rodon's off the board. Pretty much the only person left that would make any kind of splash is, the biggest splash would be extending Rafael Devers, which would make every Red Sox fan. That'd be the best Christmas present Bloom could give, the GM could give any Red Sox fan. Let's extend him. Let's not even let him hit free agency where he's going to get $350 plus like we've seen all these other guys. But one thing I do have to say is if you're Trevor Story, you became a free agent 1 year too early, brother. You became a free agent 1 year too early, and the Red Sox kind of got him on the cheap, if you want to think about it that way. The Red Sox kind of got him on the cheap. But I think that's all I have to say about baseball right now. Not a very happy camper right now. Hell, even the Tigers are making more moves than Red Sox did sign Kenley Jensen. They did sign the Asian dude. Both those guys were announced this week. I'm just not that high. I guess I'm not as high on the Asian dude as a lot of other folks do, just because I don't know anything about him. I don't know anything about him. I do know Kenley Jensen, which I hate watching pitch, but like I posted on Twitter the other day, I was like, oh, maybe he's that guy that you hate when he's playing against your team, but when he's on your team you like. But even my friends that were Dodgers fans hated him. So I don't know. Let's switch gears to the NFL. We have the Seahawks and 49ers playing right now. And it's actually at a commercial. Otherwise, I'd give you an update. But if you haven't noticed, the Lions are making some noise. Lions fans, you got to be excited as shit right now. And the reason I say that is they're playing meaningful football in December. When's the last time the Lions even played meaningful football in November, let alone December? Yes, they still do have a losing record, however, are still in the running for a playoff spot. I guess you can't really be in the running for a playoff, but a playoff spot. And granted, even though they just beat the hell out of it is still 0-0 first quarter. Mr. Brock Purdy has the 49ers driving. I was catching out the corner of my eye. Mr. Christian McCaffrey was tearing up that Seahawks defense, and there he goes again. But even though the Lions did end up beating the Vikings last weekend and were favored, they were favored against a 10-2 Vikings team. Blows my mind. And any other year, any other Lions team would have just rolled over and became the same old Lions again. But no, if you go to buyturbobeer.com, you can not only financially support the show by buying 2Ks and I a beer, but you also sign up for my weekly blog. And I talked about, are these the brand new Lions? Are these the brand new Lions? Has Dan Campbell finally made has he finally worked out the kinks and figured out this team? Has he figured out how to coach in the NFL? Because my dear Lord, the Lions have an offense that's scoring over 35 points or 32 or something crazy like that, points a game, where we've never seen that before. Or if we have, it's been years and years. And they started out the season like that, but had a defense that was historically bad. Now, granted, the defense did give up over 350 yards passing to Kirk Cousins, almost, if not over 200 yards to Justin Jefferson. But Justin Jefferson is an absolute freak. He's definitely a top 5 receiver in the league, but he might be the best receiver in the league. And that's saying something considering the weapons that Vikings team has. Is Kirk Cousins a top 5 quarterback? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They have a great line, great running backs. They just traded for TJ Hawkinson, so they have a great tight end. They have Justin Jefferson and still Adam Thielen what do you do there? What do you do? So that offense is going to get its yards, it's going to get its points. So for them to go out and the defense have that kind of performance doesn't shock me at all. But what matters most is a win. And here's a tweet from Barstool Detroit. At BS Motor City, in Dan Campbell we trust. And it's a Hollywood market, says today, in Dan Campbell we trust, go Lions. It's the marquee outside of the market. And I'm sure that is one of a bunch of local businesses getting behind this. And it's completely awesome. And this is coming from a Bears fan, ladies and gentlemen. It's awesome. I did not get a chance to watch any of the Hard Knocks with the Lions in the preseason, but in talking to enough people, I kind of got the gist of it. And there was especially coming from where it seemed like 90% of the fan base wanted Dan Campbell fired, and rightfully so. They were like, what, 1-6 before they won 6 out of 5. So there we go, George Kittle. There we go. George Kittle touchdown. 6-0 Niners. 6-0 Niners. And if you did take the Pat McAfee Super Boost, I believe it was George Kittle anytime touchdown. Christian McCaffrey anytime touchdown, and Christian McCaffrey to have over 85 combined rushing and receiving yards seems like a no-brainer to me. But in which I hammered, no doubt. But getting back to the Lions, I mean, this is legit. This is legit. And I came out and said preseason that I thought this Lions team could be a 10-7 team and kind of backdoor their way into the playoffs. Now they do travel to the Jets this week, and we're not sure Mike White's going to be able to start. It's all signs are pointing towards he is, but they're at the Jets, which is winnable, and that doesn't give me the spread. What is the spread here? Here we go. Again, if I was a better host, I would have these, have all of this all keyed up and ready to go, but I don't. Jets are a 1.5 point favorite. The Jets are a 1.5 point favorite. Let's take a look at the following week. Lions travel to Carolina to play the Panthers. Panthers just had a huge win this last week. Right now, Detroit's favored 2.5. It's a 6-7 Lions team going to a 5-8 Panthers team with Sam Darnold at the helm. That's a winnable game to me. That's a winnable game. Then you go to the New Year's Day, Bears at the Lions. Granted, it's a little bit far out. There is not a line, but I would expect the Lions will be a heavy favorite on this one, considering the Bears going into this when they're standing right now is 3-10. And so, yeah, that's a very winnable game in Week 18. Lions at the Packers. Now, that one's kind of intriguing because is Aaron Rodgers going to play? Will the Packers be playing for anything? I don't know. Will we see Jordan Love? And if we do, how good is Jordan Love going to play? He looked extremely good when he came in for Rodgers when he hurt his ribs a couple weeks ago. So there's a lot of things leading up to this that could, if everything plays out right, this Lions team could backdoor their way into the playoffs. No, I don't want to be the one that completely jinxes it, but I'm not the only one on board with this. I'm not the only one on board with this, and I really like it. I really like it. I really like that team. I really like MCDC. There's even talks to where there's a lot of folks that are saying that even if the Lions end up with a top 5 pick or 4 pick, I believe right now they would be picking 3rd or 4th with the pick they got from the Rams via the Matt Stafford trade. That they're pretty much set on Goff right now. That they wouldn't draft a quarterback with that pick. Which, if that's the case, this draft is going to be very deep in a lot of areas. I don't think there's a handful, there's 3 or 4 top end quarterback prospects in this draft, and the first mock draft came out, and it looks like I can't remember who did it, but they had Bryce Young going to the Texans, and in the top 5 there was not another quarterback picked. So I don't know. But speaking of playoffs, FanDuel posted this as how many playoff teams do you see? And here listed is the Patriots, Seahawks, Chargers, Jets, Giants, and Lions. And if you had to, if let's just go right down the line. Let's just go down the line. The Patriots, I do not think are a playoff team. They had a must-win this week that they took care of, but did not look good doing it. Did not look good doing it. I do believe the Seahawks, out of this list, especially in the NFC, they have a very good chance. The Chargers, I believe, will get in. The Jets, I believe they will not. The Lions, I do. I really do believe they get in. And the Giants, no. No, that magic that they've had over there at the start of the season with the New York Giants has kind of fizzled. I don't know if it's been because of injury, but if you just look at the quarterbacks here, Mac Jones, half or probably 3/4 of New England want him out. Geno Smith is playing. I think he's come down to earth a little bit here the past couple weeks, but I do see Geno playing better. I do have faith in Geno. And the Chargers, I have a lot of faith in Herbert. I do not have a lot of faith in Staley, the coach, but I do have a lot of faith in Herbert. Mike White, I guess you could say, quarterback of the Jets. He's put up a lot of yards, and a lot of touchdowns, but the team just hasn't been playing that well. And so when you think about that, or is it Joe Flacco, or we're seeing Zach Wilson suit up for the first time in like 4 weeks this week. So who the hell knows what the hell's going on there? Do I believe in their coach, Bob Saleh? Yes, I do. Do I believe in that defense and the quite possibly this is going to ruffle some Lions fans' feathers, but the defensive rookie of the year in Sauce Gardner, I do believe in him. I do believe in that defense, but the offense, which is a shame because if Breece Hall, was still healthy, that's a whole different team. That's a whole different team. And like I said, the Lions, I mean, they got Williams back this week. I think he had this last week, one catch, first catch in the NFL, it's a touchdown. All signs are very high on him. I believe they do still have him on a pitch count, but Amon-Ra St. Brown is emerging as quite possibly a top 10 wide receiver right now. The line is actually blocking. Goff is not turning the ball over. The defense is playing just good enough to win. I like that, especially with their schedule going forward. I haven't, again, being a real shitty host, I haven't looked at the other teams in this graphic, what their remaining schedule is, but the Lions do have a very favorable schedule. So I really do see them kind of making some noise here. And out of those teams, I do believe those would be the playoff teams. I really do. I really do. And I was gonna break down the schedule, but I don't think I'm going to. One other notable fact here with, I guess you could say it's NFL just because it's a past quarterback. But Ross Dellinger tweets, Drew Brees, the former NFL quarterback, is being hired as an interim assistant coach at Purdue, source tells at SI Now. He wanted to help during the coaching transition. He'll assist team in prep for the Citrus Bowl and coach in the game. He can also recruit via an NCAA waiver. That's kind of cool. I mean, why if you're Purdue, why the hell not? I mean, you have a first ballot NFL Hall of Fame quarterback, held the passing yard record until Brady broke it here recently. Why not? Why the hell not? Why not? And maybe that'll help him get another, get him a better or another announcing gig. Who knows? But that's about all I have for the NFL. It's shit's wrapping up. Shit's getting deep. Shit is getting really, really intense. And there really isn't. I mean, it seems like the Eagles are the head and shoulders better team than anybody else, just because they're one loss. But it's going to be exciting to see. There were some shots fired from Micah Parsons, the defensive end or linebacker, whatever he's listed for the Cowboys, which they play on Christmas weekend, saying that, is it all Jalen Hurts or is it the team? You know, Jalen Hurts has been playing very well. very well. Probably the most, and I've heard Dan Orlovsky and a bunch of other pundits say he's had the best transformation of a quarterback they've ever seen. So good on him, good on the Eagles. They're a fun team to watch. I love watching them. But there really isn't, seems like a head and shoulders. And if you try to bet these games on a week in and week out basis, if you're ahead of the game, you're better than me. Better than me. Let's do this real quick because we haven't done this in a while. Let me share my screen. Let me do this. Let's talk about the Fantasy Football League here. Because like I said, we haven't done it in a while. And I believe we're taking the top 4 teams, regardless of what division they're in. And we've got Team Eggleston at 10-4. Then we have 3 teams at 8-6. Team Chelsea, Footstool Lance a Little, and Team 2Ks. So the Kaler household is doing pretty darn well. And then 2 teams at 7-7. Team Gearhart, Team Kaler, and let's see, 1, 2, 3 teams at 6-8. Myself, Give Me Your Money, which I'm not getting anybody's money this year. The Indiana Baby Sharks, SC, LSU, Mud Dogs, and Team Wilson at 4 wins. Which one thing I will say about not only this league, but the league that I'm in that 2K's hosts is usually there's one team that has one loss, and there's one team at the bottom that has 1 win. It's not like that. There's been a lot of parity, and I think it goes to show you the actual parity in the NFL. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been kind of frustrating at times, but it's been also a lot of fun. So once the playoffs start, which I believe is next week, we'll 2Ks and I will touch on it, and kind of got some more festive stuff coming your way as well. Got some more festive stuff, and we might have 2 confirmed guests. Yes, guests into the new studio. I cannot wait. It's going to be fun. There's one that you will recognize and one that might be a little bit of a surprise. And we'll see how this goes. And this weekend, or probably next weekend when I have a little bit more time off because of the holiday, I might try to get some folks in via video call, a la AJ Hawk on the Pat McAfee show. And we'll see if we can have guests that way as well as in the studio. So 2023 is going to be huge for us, ladies and gentlemen. Not only do we have a new space that we can hopefully kind of make more of our own, but we have a dedicated space. We're not in my basement. We don't have to worry about Morgan barking, just cars going by and big trucks yee-yeeing the shit out of it down Main Street. So with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, drop in the comments, what is your favorite holiday tradition? What's your favorite holiday tradition, and what is one that you don't do but you've always wanted to do? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell to let you know when we go live. And I will see you. Hopefully 2Ks will be here too. Hopefully the funk is out of the 2K house, and we'll be back and better than ever. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.